Let's get in Pathikrit Payne as well. But Pathikrit Payne, as far as, of course, this situation is concerned, how difficult is it? How complicated is this rescue operation Sindhu, which has been launched by the Indian government to get back evacuees from Iran? Now, Iran, of course, has its border with some not so friendly nations, which obviously makes such an operation all the more complicated, given that it is happening under much hostilities from the end of Israel, over the last few days.
Well, it's pretty complicated, and that's the reason the government of India directly gets involved, because you have two adversaries firing missiles at each other, and so you have to inform both the sides, because it can always happen that some kind of a stray munition eventually accidentally may target you. So you have to be pretty clear about quite a few things. You have to share your travel plan with both the sides possibly, because you don't want any kind of an untoward incident. And generally the civilian planes will not have any kind of an system to actually spot if there's some kind of an incoming projectile. So it is not easy. It is a very difficult proposition, and therefore the only thing that I want to share here is that once the government of India decides that it wants to start the evacuation of its own people from a particular region when a conflict goes on, my request to the students is please abide by whatever instructions the government of India gives. And I have seen such occasions where some students tend to stay back to complete their education on the presumption, on the hope that the conflict will end soon. That sometimes become extremely difficult, because I was personally, I'm aware of the situation where some from Indian students were in Israel in a particular university in Tel Aviv when the situation became very critical post October 7. The government was telling them, it's time that you move on. Some of them were very reluctant, but eventually it was told to them that, look, this situation is not going to improve, it's going to get worse. And so if they had stayed back, it would have been far more difficult to evacuate them later on. And today you see how situation is over there. So likewise, the same thing happened with Ukraine. Many students thought of going back to Ukraine to finish their education. We can understand their compulsion, the challenges they face, because they leave their education in between and come. But once the government of India takes a decision to go ahead and evacuate, that means the government already has information that the situation is going to get worse than what it is right now. And if you look at what is happening in Iran right now, the potential possibility of the Americans directly intervening, the potential possibility of Americans actually using far more devastating bombing of many of the regions. It's important that students actually abide by that and move on. Sometimes it happens that maybe one of the sides is not happy with you, with the stand that you have taken, and yet you have to convince them that, look, these are civilian planes, and you got to allow them to evacuate. So there are protocols in place, and just as the government of India, the concerned pilots, because I'm sure a certain kind of specific kind of briefing is also given to the pilots who go to those emergency flights like this, and they have to follow by several of those protocols. I'm sure some kind of I'm not aware, but I think there are certain other measures are also taken to ensure that no untoward incident happens. In this particular case, what is happening is that in most of these flights are initially some other routes are going to Armenia. Then from Armenia they're flying to Doha, and from Doha they are being brought to Delhi. So it's a complicated issue. There are multiple layers of logistical preparations that you have to do, and the government of India works in such situation against all odds, and therefore the best thing the students and others can do is to ensure that they follow by the instructions that is given. Last but not the least, in this particular case, I think it will be relatively, I'm not saying it's going to be easy, but I'm saying it's going to be relatively easier because we have a very small expat population diaspora in Iran compared to many other countries. But all the same, in any kind of situation when an evacuation is done, it is not an easy task. There are many multiple factors. Some of those we may not be aware of, but those challenges are taken care of, and then evacuation happens. Again, I want to repeat, if such instructions are coming to the students and everyone is contacted by the concerned embassy, the embassy ensures that everyone is contacted and they're given instructions. SOPs are very much clear as to what you should do, what you should not do, whether you should stay in the bunker if it's possible, and then what you should carry and how you should travel.
Right.
And at every moment you must inform where you are right now. So those things should be followed by the students. The students are young. Sometimes they may not be aware of how things can go bad. They have to be patient, and not that every time you will be the first guy to be evacuated. Sometimes you have to be patient to wait. So I think it's great what is happening.
My thanks to all of our guests for joining us.
For more such videos, subscribe to the NewsX YouTube channel, hit the bell icon.